I have learned that there are a lot of things you just sometimes have to surrender and let go so you can breathe and find the real you again, like the core part of your creativity or whatever it is you're working on, to then go back with a new perspective, a cleaner thought.
Hi, I'm Angélique Letizia, a writer, director, and creator of the Call Cut Method. It's a tool to shift your frequency, rewrite your inner script, and realign you with the energy of your highest potential. This podcast is your behind-the-scenes pass to alchemizing that energy. So if you're ready to interrupt the script, reclaim your power, and write your story that you were actually born to live, you're in the right place. My guest today is Shana Farr, a multi-passionate singer, actress, and designer. She has graced stages from Carnegie Hall to Westminster Abbey, earning acclaim for the beauty and depth of her performances. Offstage, she brings the same artistry to fine jewelry, creating heirloom pieces and launching her newest brand, The Baby Promise, inspired by motherhood. Shana's journey blends music, design, and heart, proving that creativity has no limits when you believe in yourself. Thank you so much for being on the show, Shana Farr. Shana is a wonderful actress and singer, and she is one of my dear friends, and we've known each other for over a decade.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And this is one talented lady. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show is because so many people tell me that they give up on their dreams, that they're too old, that they've been at it for a long time and nothing is happening. And you know, you and I are very similar, that we are maybe stupidly optimistic and incredibly ambitious, and we just keep going and going and going with no age barriers. And we're like, let's just do this. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about your journey. Tell everyone who you are, what you've done, because you're not just a singer and an actress and a mother, you're an author. You have not one, but two jewelry businesses. So I would love for you to just introduce everyone and tell them about yourself, and we'll kick it off from there.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Shana Farr. And Angélique, thank you so much for having me on here to discuss, life with you and being positive.
Yes.
You said something earlier that said, you mentioned age. And I'm a believer that the older we get, the more we learn, the more we gain from our experiences that we just then bring into whatever projects we're working on. I happen to be someone, I consider myself multi-passionate, but it all falls under creativity and storytelling. So yes, singer, performer, I've done stage work, musicals, concert artist, but also a jewelry designer. And there's two jewelry companies. I've written a little children's book, and I just, whenever ideas come, I say, okay, where does that fit? Can I do a show with this idea? Can I create a jewelry brand or collection with this idea? Can I tell a story? That's, I think, basically what I am, is a storyteller, and I just try to find whatever medium works for me during that moment to tell the story.
Yeah, and I love that you said that. I'm a storyteller, because all humans on some level are storytellers, right?
Yes.
But you've channeled that energy into your art, and you've used that in a way to inspire, inform, entertain other people. Your book, you authored that, but you did it with your son. Your son was the illustrator.
Yes.
And it's called The Baby Promise.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it a second, pop it up here so people can take a look. And you have a lullaby in this book. And I will say, because I was there when you did the Baby Promise ring and you were launching your jewelry design, and you sang this song. And I remember getting super choked up, because as a mother, I feel like we can all relate to this book that you've written and to this song that you wrote. And becoming a mother for the first time, having all of these dreams that you're now want your child to have.
Mm-hmm.
What did that feel like?
Oh. Well, it was about 6 weeks into motherhood after my mom left because she was here, helping. And when she left, I gave it a moment's thought and realized, "Oh my goodness, it's just me and my husband, and we have this little one who we're responsible for, and what kind of mom did I wanna be?" And understanding that I'm gonna try my best, but I know I'm gonna fail every once in a while, but that's okay too because we have to just keep going, and trying to do our best. Look, I have days where I'm tired, and I don't want to mommy. You know? Um, and, but but we have to. You know, there's a saying that is, ask if you wanna get something done, ask a mom, because they wear so many hats. We wear so many hats. Look, there are a lot of women who are not moms, but they're also very busy and get a lot of things done. But once you have that child in your life or more than one child in your life, you have to really just understand that you gotta just get things done. Just get things done. Do them the best that you can. Teach that to your child, and hopefully they kind of pick up on some of your mistakes, some of what you've learned as you're guiding them along the way. But no, the book is basically a promise that I wrote to share with my son as he grows up. It's a promise not only to him, but also to myself to remember that it's okay to not be perfect all the time. And then during COVID, he really got into art because there was nothing else really to do. He was in kindergarten and first grade. And so he did the artwork. We chose the artwork for the book. Kind of like a love project, I guess. It's on Amazon, on my website. It's you can get it anywhere. It was really nice to finally put words to how I was feeling and how I wanted to be as a mom.
Motherhood, in my opinion, is the hardest job, and I feel like a lot of women would agree that, first of all, we have to keep them alive,
Yep.
and that's the that's the first part. The second is to make sure that they are good humans who
Yes.
can move throughout the world in a positive, constructive, but also boundaried way because
Mhm.
we don't want them to be pushovers. We don't want them to be bullies. We don't want, there's a lot. And we're constantly navigating that. So I do think that motherhood is a really tough job. And especially when you have a career or a dream, a lot of women especially feel, well, I have to give that up. I can't have both.
I would say it's not giving it up. It's just working it into what your dreams are and realizing that being a mom, going down this journey also influences you as a person and your dreams. So, I'll go back, storyteller. Well, there are a lot of emotions and stories and experiences I've had as a mom that have influenced many things that I have done. And to your point, it is, I think, the biggest commitment a woman makes. You mentioned the baby promise. There's a ring that, of course, from my jewelry career, I decided this is like the biggest commitment, and I would like to have a ring to go with
Right.
that commitment and that
Right.
promise that I made. So that's kind of the whole point behind the baby promise. We moms make these promises and these commitments, but let's, raise your hand and show it. Show it. The blue one, that's for
Yeah.
my little boy.
Yeah. Well, see, so that's one of the incredible things. And just to give people a little bit of background on you, you worked for Harry Winston.
Yeah.
You had Pure Imagination, which is your other jewelry line. So you actually have a background in fine jewelry. You
Yeah.
know how to create these beautiful, intricate designs. And but the baby promise ring is so super interesting, and because it can be worn by grandparents, it can be worn by aunts. I think it's a beautiful tribute to motherhood or parenthood,
Yeah.
right? In that way. And their rings are gorgeous, and you can design them any old way with any color stone, and you can have them engraved. So I feel like your ability to not just tell stories, but bring these things around so that other people can tell their stories through your
Yeah.
creation is a really cool gift.
Thanks. I mean, that's what I'm hoping will come out of this. Yeah.
And on top of that, I think what for me when I think about all these women out there in the world, they're moms, they own businesses and they still have passions. For you, you are an actress. That is how I actually met you
Yeah.
when you
Thank you for casting
auditioned.
me.
Yes. Well, I remember um that was a tough film, right?
Yeah, it
And,
was.
it was a really tough emotional film, and you were fantastic. The whole cast were really unbelievable, but, I met Shana through Confession, which was a film that we were doing at the time, and I absolutely fell in love with her because there's a lot about her on the surface, she's very accomplished, but Shana has a wicked sense of humor. She's very funny, which you wouldn't, notice right away because she's also very poised and very elegant, but I absolutely loved her, and the one thing we both kind of bonded on was being in this business, and we love the stage, and Shayna has also written a stage play called Grand Central, and there's a lot what I love about you, Shayna, and this is why I feel like you have a kindred spirit, is, like, you don't stop. You're like, "Oh, yep, let's just keep going." There are no limits, alright, and I think we both agree on this, to what you can do as long as you're putting your mind to it and you're putting your action behind it.
Right. So your this podcast is called Call Cut. And, okay, cut. We got to do this again and start over. And that is so true sometimes in our lives and the paths that we're taking on. You got to just call cut. I also like to say, let's just pause. Let's just take a moment. We're going to call cut, but we're going to pause for a second. And maybe this needs to be rewritten, or maybe the path needs to change a little bit, or maybe this project needs to be put on hold because other things are going on that might actually influence another version of this project once I've moved forward a little bit. So, I've got my fingers in a lot of different pots, let's say, lots of irons in the fire. And I don't ever quit. I go back to them when the time is right, if that makes sense.
Yes, because yeah, absolutely, because time is a mystery, but timing is everything. And sometimes we believe that our time is right in this moment. But especially when you're bringing a creation to the world may not be ready for it at the time you're ready to deliver it. So the ability to put it on the shelf, right? And wait and say, okay, I'm going to give this a sacred pause and I'm going to hold on and see what happens and give my attention to this and this. But I know I'm coming back to this. I know this is part of my journey. I feel like that's what you're talking about. And it's absolutely imperative because part of divine timing is knowing when to apply the law of action and also when to surrender. You have to
Yes.
go back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have learned that there are a lot of things you just sometimes have to surrender and let go so you can breathe and find the real you again, like the core part of your creativity or whatever it is you're working on, to then go back with a new perspective, a cleaner thought.
Yes, because there's a lot of chaos that comes around us. And a lot of the times we don't know that our chakras are filled with different kinds of delays and reversals and doubt and all this kind of energetic interference. Sometimes when we are led to take that pause and to stop for a second, that is a way for us to clear the path. And clearing the path is super important, which is why the cold cut method works, at least from my perspective, because it does allow you to almost call it on yourself. to be like, all right, let's reevaluate all of the things that we've ever done in our lives, the directing, the acting, the singing, the dancing, etc. There were moments when you had to say, all right, okay, just wait a minute. Hold on a second. And knowing that, okay, I can put a pause button here, I could stop, or I could call cut on this, but I can come back. I can reframe it. I can realign it because sometimes we're going down a road that's not good. We're involved with projects that we're not aligned with, people that we're not aligned with, especially in art industry.
I have learned to trust my instincts and my gut a little more as I age, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's one of the best parts about going on your journey is you learn to say no, and you learn to say, "You know what? I don't need this person in my circle because they kinda give me the heebie-jeebies, or I just don't feel right about what this decision is that I need to make." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's really important to be able to discern. And I do think with age comes wisdom because we've learned to marry intellect and intuition. You just said, I trust my gut now.
Yeah.
When we're younger, we use our brains a lot, we use our minds a lot because we're going to figure it all out instead of feel it all out. And
Mhm.
we actually need to use the both of them together, the heart and the mind, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
where the wisdom comes in. And when we finally get to that point where we can be like,
Right.
oh, wait a minute. I think this is good, but this doesn't
Right.
feel good. you know?
We're not getting older, we're getting wiser, you see.
We are. And this whole there is a whole war, I think, uh, that is being silently and maybe not so silently waged on age and aging, as if it is just some horrible, terrible thing that can happen to you and you must prevent it at all cost.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the pendulum is kinda swinging back to the, "Oh, aging gracefully actually is beautiful." "Oh, we can share our ages." I mean, look, no one can hide their age anyway, especially if you're in the, performing world, or if you have a Wikipedia page, it's gonna have your age on it. So, there's no use trying to hide your age and your experience and everything.
Your age is absolutely, I mean, I've said this 1,000 times, but time is a construct, therefore age is a construct. We really don't know how long we're here. We don't know how old we are. All we know is that we're here in the moment and we have that moment to create whatever it is we want to create. And we need the power of our mind and we need our spirit and we need our hearts behind our passions. You said up at the top that you're multi-passionate. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really cool word because it describes so many people. And there are so many people who give up, Shana. I can't tell you how many times I will get messages from folks who say to me, I can't do it.
Well, it's not easy. It is hard, and you basically have to shut down the voices that are going on. You got your angel, you got the devil, you got the voice saying, "Go for it. What a great idea. You can do this." And then you've got the other voice saying, "Oh my God, no. Everyone's going to hate this. You're going to be a failure." And you just have to that's your call cut. Just cut those voices and just silence them to get back into what you know is right.
Yeah. And that takes a level of self mastery that people don't always want to, or maybe don't know how to approach. Approaching that devil and angel, or if you want to call it the inferior and superior consciousness that says, oh, why you? Why do you think that this is going to be for you? This isn't going to be, you're going to fail. Don't do that. People aren't going to like it. People aren't going to like you.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things, and I say this to actors and writers and even directors, you got to get over this whole idea of being liked.
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
I mean, I tell my son that all the time. Don't worry about what other people think. Just
Yes.
worry about yourself. I mean, you do have to be conscious of others and be kind and considerate, but just worry about what you're feeling and what your thoughts are and how to move forward with those. Don't let anybody beat you down, basically.
Right. And I feel like, yes, there are people that we do have to get their approval for certain things, jobs, etc. But it's all within reason, right? Is as long as you're not compromising your values or who you are as a person, or if you're feeling in your heart that you really want to say no, but somebody is pressuring you to say yes. And also, sometimes what's right isn't always popular and what's popular isn't always right. I don't remember who quoted that, but we've heard it a million times, right? So I feel like I say this to my son too. It's like, listen, you got to get past the idea that you're going to be liked by everyone because it's not possible. The law of polarity, you absolutely can't. Someone said this to me the other day. Why does Taylor Swift have so much hate? And I said, well, she's very much adored. And if you are going to be very much adored, the law of polarity states you will have an equal and opposite force that comes up against that.
Yeah.
So you
Yep.
just have to take it both and say to yourself, okay.
Right. And another thing I try to teach and practice myself is that jealousy isn't healthy. And that's what's just going to drag you down. If you've got the weight of jealousy or, well, why can't I do that? Or why haven't I done that? Or any thought like that. Why don't I have that money? Why can't I drive that car? Things like that. Materialistic jealousy. It's just going to drag you down. And that's the vibe. That's the energy you're giving off. And in this world, it's all about just sharing the energy. You have to be positive. You have to, what goes around comes around. I'm a strong believer in that. You got to share it forward. All of that stuff. Because there's just you're not going to get ahead or be happy with who you are if all you do is compare yourself to others and give in to jealousy.
Right. Another quote that I don't remember is who said it was comparison is the thief of joy. Also,
Yeah.
not mine, just can't remember who originated it. Um, but it's true because the more we are envious, and envy is a really lower vibrational energy,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get you anywhere. And as a matter of fact, holding that for other people is it's self betrayal because you're taking yourself down a path that's so much further away from your own evolution
Mhm.
by obsessing over what somebody else is, isn't, has, or has not.
Yeah, you're just tying yourself up in knots on the inside, and you just have to say, move on, And in fact, in this the acting, performing, singing, writing, directing, this whole world of creativity, you have to be happy for the people that you are working with. Be happy for them, and, be happy for their success, but success is whatever you make of it. Success could be singing in a 1,400 seat hall, or it could be performing in a hospice care center or a memory care center where you are helping those people return to happier places. I have done both things. Both I get great energy from and satisfaction from, and I consider both of them a success because it just keeps me going.
Yes. And success is different for everyone.
Yes.
There are a lot of people who believe that success means extreme material gain. But actually, if they looked a little bit deeper into the kind of esotericism, they would find that it's the opposite. It's the ability to find love, peace, joy, not just that, you said it earlier, being happy for other people, being happy for other people's wins, being happy for other people's success. The film and theater industries can be really, really tough. There's a lot of competition, a lot of pettiness. And I mean, honestly, it's in any industry.
Every
But
industry. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there is corporate America, who's stepping on whose face and all that kind of stuff. I feel though, when you're truly talented, if you can cultivate confidence in your talent, whatever your talent is, you will not be plagued by the demon of jealousy. You will not be plagued by the demon of competition, nor will you be plagued by the demon of envy, because you will know that your time will come as long as you apply the law of action, you show up for
Mhm.
your dream, and your dream will show up for you.
Yeah.
But you've got to show up for it. There's a lot of people who will write to me, and it's very funny. They'll say, "Hey, I have this idea, and I want you to write it and direct it and this and that." And I thought, "Oh, that's so incredibly wonderful." No, but you know, but then conversely, there are people who will show up with everything fleshed out, and they
Yeah.
have a script, and they have an idea, and they want to push it forward, and they've done the work. I'm more likely to respond to that because there's effort.
Yeah.
It's not just, "Hey,
And
go make my dreams come true."
right, you know that they put themselves into it. Stories that are told from the heart with emotion, will land anywhere.
I mean, you've sung on incredible stages, and
Yeah.
you've been honored at Lincoln Center. You are a high level of talent, especially in the realm of cabaret. You have an incredible voice, an incredible spirit. And I feel like
Thanks.
why you have been so successful is because you do just show up for it. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to go do this. We were doing another film, and it was a short, crazy film that we shot at the Players Club, the redo.
Yes, yes.
And this is what I mean by, you and your husband were so fabulous in that film. And it was a kooky film because, my husband has sophomoric sense of humor. But you showed up and you sang and you were in it. And and I thought to myself, this is it. Showing up for something, putting all of it into it. And the universe just keeps opening stuff for you to do.
Yeah. Okay, so to go back to pure imagination, my original jewelry collection. So I had left the corporate jewelry industry and was missing the design aspect of it. So I thought, I've designed collections for other people. I'm sure I could do it for myself. And of course, it's creative, it's whimsical, unique designs that kind of each one of them has a melody or a song behind them, but the fortune cookie collection was the first collection I designed because as I was sitting at my dining room table trying to decide, was I going to do this or not? Um, I ordered out Chinese with my roommate, and I opened the fortune cookie, and the message inside said, "Do not close your eyes to doors that are open."
Oh,
And that has been I get goosebumps every time I talk about this. That has been my mainstay philosophy, thought whenever I approach something or think about something or if a door is opening, you know, sometimes it takes a lot of courage to jump into something that you're not sure how it's gonna turn out. Um and that's it was a fortune cookie message that convinced me it was time. And so I did it. You can find it. I'm wearing it. I'm wearing this is the fortune cookie
necklace.
pendant and this is the ring. So, it's
Yeah. I like the idea of a fortune cookie necklace. And actually with your fortune cookie necklaces, can't people choose what
yeah,
is in
you
it?
choose the little message that you want. I have several that are song lyrics. Want to be a dreamer, be one from pure imagination. I have the fortune cookie message. I have something from Over the Rainbow. I can't think of it right now. But then you can also write your own, and I'll have it engraved on a little fortune tag that gets delivered along with the fortune cookie. And in the ring, you put it on. I'll engrave it on the inside for you.
Yeah.
So it's just all about making something special for yourself that means something. my first solo show was actually also called Pure Imagination, because I was just in that chapter of figuring things out, and I wanted to follow my dreams, and it was all about dreams.
Yeah.
Whoever thought jewelry and music would go together?
Well, I mean, I think I think I think jewelry and music actually do belong together. There is a
Yeah,
story. I mean, how many times does somebody say, "Oh, I got this from my grandmother and she,"
exactly.
right? And there's a story attached to that pendant or that piece, and people really do attach story to everything. Human beings are the first beings that really do. We've
Tell
learned.
stories.
Yes, that's it. We have learned how
Yeah.
to tell stories, live by stories and myth and legend. And in a lot of ways, I
Yep.
feel like myths and legends are more the truth of where we came from, this kind of hero's journey, if you will. Um,
Yeah, and
but
every culture has them. They
yes,
have their own myths and legends and traditions and stories, and it's important to even learn all of them and or know about them and continue to grow with each culture and their stories, and because really it's all about the same thing, to bring it back home, that it's about being kind, it's about connecting, it's about enjoying life, what's on your journey, and take it all in and be happy in the moment.
yes, because the moment is really all we ever have. And that moment creates your future moment. A lot of people get
Yeah,
stuck in the past. Well, I didn't do this or I didn't make that. And I did. Perhaps you just weren't ready. You weren't aligned. You and your dream have to be aligned.
yeah.
There has to be an energetic connection there. If there isn't, it can't be brought into reality. For example, if you truly believed in your heart of hearts you couldn't do it, then you are not in alignment with that dream. It would be very difficult to show up and to go through the doors, as you said.
Right.
It would be even more terrifying, as a matter of fact. And people often talk themselves out from taking that leap because they're terrified that they're going to fall.
It's that voice. It's that voice right there.
Yeah, and we all have it. I feel like if we understand that we're all in it together, that we all have the inferior voice, the inferior impulses that we spoke about earlier, jealousy, envy, competition, they're all demons that need to be wrangled. But you can wrangle it by changing your story,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
"Oh, I'm not
yeah.
listening you today, sir." Okay? Like, "Thank you so
I'm
much."
only listening to my positive energy right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You just need to shut the hell up and stop talking to me so much. Because the better we become at seeing it and navigating it and saying, "Oh, wait, there you are again." The
Yeah,
easier it is to call cut on that voice and be like, "Okay, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway." I know when you were starting out with the baby promise that there were things that you were nervous about and you were like, "Okay, I'm not sure."
I'm still nervous about them. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's you go with the flow. I am not against learning new social media stuff. I am not against learning how to shoot new reels. I mean, you have to. I was having a conversation with someone else the other day, that if I didn't want to do the social media and if I didn't want to think about the strategy and the marketing and the business side, then I should just quit, because you have to do it. As a creative person, you have to figure out how to get your story out there. And as much as I sit down at my computer and go, okay, it's social media day, ah, I get through it. And then in the end, I realize that it's part of the journey and it is part of my story. And there's some of my story that people want to hear about that, I wouldn't have even thought about. So again, it's putting yourself out there, even though you're unsure about it, and just
Yeah.
doing it.
No one can control these outcomes, even these marketing companies that say, "Oh, well, it's
Mm-mm.
a guaranteed this." Nothing's guaranteed.
Nope.
you don't know how people will respond to things for good or for bad. You don't even know if you put something out and then 6 months later, all of a sudden, boom, this thing just catches wind and catches fire, which is what the beauty of believing in yourself is that you're constantly fueling it. I had a really hard time launching this podcast, and I delayed myself by 2 months because inferior voice,
Oh, yeah.
boy, and I think I have to be honest, I think it's a masculine voice. It's a male, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why, because maybe because I've had, like, my father figure and all those have always been the negative,
True. Yes, yes.
so I really hear it as this almost like in their voice, and, I remember being on the phone with a friend of mine, and she said to me, "Well, you could just not do it. You could continue to write, put your book out, do this, that. You can do that, but then you'll never know if you were right or if that little demon was right."
Yep.
And I thought, "Oh, God, man, she says things sometimes and they get like right in, and she said, "Angelique, you just have to take the leap. You're afraid to take the
Yeah.
leap because you're afraid that this may be true." And I say this stuff because I'm very open, on social media and everywhere else about the struggle that I've had in my own journey, whether it's
Mhm.
low self esteem as a child and panic anxiety and all the things that,
Yep.
fail, succeed, fail, succeed. And I tell people constantly, outwardly, people look like they got it all together. But, right?
Mhm.
Inside, it's a whole other game.
It is, and I would say to folks, just because someone is presenting well, it doesn't mean they're all together on the inside, you know? Sometimes people have really had to deal with their negativity, those negative voices, those emotional experiences that they don't necessarily want you to exactly know everything, but just know that there is turmoil in everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That is something that we actually do all have in common,
Yeah.
is that we are constantly trying to wrangle those voices. We are constantly trying to navigate our own securities, insecurities, and figure out where we are. Some people are just a little more advanced, or some people were born into situations that gave them favorable circumstances, not just materially, but favorable circumstances emotionally, mentally.
Mhm.
You know, you could even have an incredibly fortuitous background financially, and you have an abusive family.
Yeah.
That can be
Yeah.
toxic. And that can also stunt people from moving forward and getting, because they don't even know all these bloodline entanglements are holding them back.
Right.
So it is a game, it's a mind game. And I think artists are so good at this because artists are good at telling stories, right? And
Yes.
and they are good at kind of mastering. And if we can understand that, hey, if we just do this all the time, you will constantly be rewriting, "Oh no, I didn't like how that day turned out. Oh, okay." And going through,
Mhm.
and you said it earlier when you said about taking the pause. The pause is the place where we write.
Yes. That's where you breathe, that's where you say, "Okay, I need to take a moment to think about what it is I'm working on. Which path do I go with it? Or I just need to clear out all the clutter in my head and write down a list and just really try to follow what it is I need to do until I'm in a more positive space. Lives are this ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. And, whether you believe in the stars and the moons and alignments and what house you were born in and what was rising, um, I think there is the ups and downs that are ruled by things that sometimes we're not necessarily in control of.
You're
So,
1,000%. It's wave theory, and everything moves in waves, heart waves, sound waves, light
yeah,
waves.
music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brain waves. And so we have crests and we have dips. And uh,
Yeah.
too many of us are told erroneously, because this is what gets people chasing, right? Chasing things that are not necessarily beneficial, that you always have to be at your highest high. You're always producing, you're always the best, you're always this, you're always that. I tell my son all the time, yeah, winning is great, losing is better. And he like he's like, "What?" I said, Losing balances the ego. Losing
Yeah.
humbles the soul. If you don't lose and you always win, arrogance will take over. And you will believe erroneously that you are untouchable, that everything and then when you do finally come up against a loss, that it
Yeah.
will hurt a lot more than if you got used to the fact that losing is part of life. It's equivalent to winning.
And you learn from it.
Yes. Yes. And it makes you stronger.
So,
And
yeah.
it also makes you more compassionate. You know, w- sometimes you watch when kids are playing these games and some of these kids are cocky and they're like, hey, we're going to blah, blah, blah. And I think, well, there's no guarantee that you're going to win. And then when they lose, they get very upset and they start to
Mhm.
cry. And you see, and my son says, well, I always say good game and I'm always very kind to them. And I said, you should be, because you will be the winner and you will be the loser. And
Mhm.
it just keeps going back and forth all the
It's
time.
it's it's that word empathy. Empathy.
Yes.
Empathy.
Yes.
That's a very important word,
Yes.
empathy.
Not too many people have it these days, because to be empathetic means that you have to have an understanding of another person's plight. Really, that
Yeah.
putting yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think humanity has a choice. I mean, we have gone to the overly narcissistic side of the polarity spectrum where people have become way too self obsessed. But I do think
Mhm.
we can find our way back.
You know, I've seen the pendulum swing in lots of different places and things and, in thoughts and ideas, in social media use, in television watching, in, lots of different things, in neighborhoods, you know, development. The pendulum swings and you just see it go back and forth. And hmm, I'm waiting for it to come into the middle a little bit and kind of just settle in the middle for a while on a few things, but
I feel
we'll
like
see.
we're all with you, Shana. We're all we're all waiting for the balance. We hit
Yeah,
one extreme, we hit another extreme, and now we're just finally coming to that middle
yeah,
place. Um, so
yeah.
what is new and exciting in your world? What is coming up for you?
Well, I do have 2 things coming up. One is October 6th. I'm sitting on the gala committee for the American Songbook Association. It's at Merkin Hall, and we are honoring, Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty. They wrote Anastasia, the musical, and Rocky the musical, My Favorite Year, and many more, Ragtime, many more. And we're also giving Jamie DeRoy a Dreammaker Award. She's produced, I don't know, over 100 Broadway musicals. But I'm on the gala committee, and I love this foundation because it takes music into underserved schools here in New York City and into memory care centers, um, for the elderly who really need it the most. I have seen the effects of songs that they can go back in their minds and remember, and it makes a world of difference for these people. So I'm happy to be a part of that foundation. And then on October 14th, I'm bringing fashion with jewelry. I'm working with a wonderful Japanese fashion artist. Her name is Mieko Mintz. She's unique in her fashions. She creates clothing, jackets, coats, pants, scarves, handbags out of vintage saris. So she goes to India and she's collected all these beautiful colors and patterns of vintage saris, and her art is mixing and matching the fabric and puts them together in these articles of clothing, and they're all reversible. I have 3 of her jackets, and I actually have 6 because you can wear them either way. But she and I decided I've done some photo shoot work with her, posing and smiling in her beautiful clothing. And when we got to know each other a little more, she found out about the jewelry design and the singing that I do, and I learned more about her artwork, and so we've decided to bring it together in a fashion night at the Players on October 14th. So that's happening also.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anything else new with the baby promise?
Still in the works, getting the word out there. But they're beautiful pieces, gold and diamond and sentimental.
I still have to
Yeah.
get a baby promise ring. And I keep telling myself, and I'm like, yeah, and a million things happen and I forget. But maybe this
Oh,
time, no.
I know. There is a design idea I have that I'm hoping to have at least one sample for October 6th. I have an idea of doing an eternity band in white diamond, but if you have, let's say, 2 boys and a girl, you put a blue, a pink, and a blue,
Hmm.
and then it's just a part of the eternity
No,
band.
that's pretty.
So it's not on the site yet, but it's an
I
idea.
like it.
I'll get back to you on that one.
I like it. Well, Shana, thank you so much for coming on Call Cut with Angélique and for talking about a little bit of your journey and where you
Thank
are and
you.
where you're at. And where can people find you and follow you?
ShanaFarr.com, ShanaFarrDesigns.com, TheBabyPromise.com. But my socials are Instagram, there's at Shana Farr, at Shana Farr Designs, Pure Imagination, at The Baby Promise. And that's the place where I'll be updating and putting the reels and the carousels and the stories and all that stuff you've got to put up.
Yes, yes. And I feel like it's going to be a good year for you. Just so you know, friends, Shana Farr, 2 R's like star, 2 R's, Star Films, 2 R's, Shana Farr. So yeah, definitely check Shana out and everything that she's doing. She is an incredible artist. She is also an incredibly talented person. And as I said, super funny, very, very kind. She also does a lot of charity work and she's put a lot of her talent back out into the world to try to help inspire and inform others that are getting ready to transition. And she really does a lot of good in this world. Shana, thank you again for being on the show. And we wish you the best for 2026. We know it's going to be a great year. Thank you so much for joining me on Call Cut with Angélique. New episodes drop every Friday. If you like this content, please subscribe, like, share with your friends. And remember, folks, no matter what life gives you, you must always keep shining.